Hello, this is Jason P. Wilson 01 X-Force, and this is my Marvel comic pull list for the weeks of February 15th, February 22nd, February 29th. And today is March 1st, and of course it's 2012. I've had my hands full lately, so I haven't been able to post till now. But the good news is I have 3 weeks worth of comics. Now, each of those weeks individually were kind of light. So it kind of worked out, me putting these all together. Originally I was going to post them, the newest comics, and then the later ones towards the end. But I thought it might work better if I posted themes. Because I have like 5 Spider-Man comics to talk about. So the first one will be a triple. After that, it'll be doubles. So first up here for my Marvels are a trio of Spidey books. And we'll go ahead and start with Amazing Spider-Man number 679.1. Now, that was pretty much a filler issue. It was fun. It was a cool read. I thought the cover was awesome. The artwork was really nice. The story really was just okay. It's, it's Yost and Slott, working together. I thought for a quick little one-shot, I thought it worked fine. Like a lot of .1 issues, they're hit or misses. This was kind of a miss just because it really was an introductory issue. If you were wanting to jump on board, it didn't really do its job of introducing a new reader to what's going on with Amazing Spider-Man. What it really was is just a one-shot. So on that point, it didn't work. But if you've already been collecting Amazing Spider-Man, this is definitely one you'll want in your collection. Again, Yost and Slott together is a pretty big deal. Even though it was just a one-shot, wasn't really a lot going on as the overall story arcs go. It still was an interesting read. Now, of course, the one that I picked up this last Wednesday, that was the prequel to what's going on with the big anniversary of the Amazing Spider-Man, which is going to, of course, be the big Doc Ock arc. So that was the really good one. This one was just okay. Good enough to pick up, but barely enough to be worth its, $3.99 price tag. Next up here, we'll go to the far left, and that is Scarlet Spider number 2. Now, I picked up the first one. I thought it was quite interesting. I wasn't willing to put it in my saver yet, but I did want to pick up issue number 2. After reading it, I am pleased as I could be. I wasn't really a big fan of Scarlet Spider, the old style with the whole blue hoodie and everything. It was okay, but it really didn't do anything for me. But I did think the character was interesting, even though most of the stories involving Scarlet Spider before I didn't think were that great. Still, he was an interesting character, and I was wanting to read about this new Scarlet Spider kind of coming back. I would like to say I love the new uniform. It's actually really cool, and I definitely like the whole attitude of Scarlet Spider. Now, having read his past stories, it did bring a little more to the table, because of course, all that is still cannon fodder for this new title. But if you had never read it before, I think you'll get the gist of it pretty easily. Still, I think I'm going to wait for trade. When it does come out in trade, I will want to read the complete story, but I'm not sure if I'll be picking up any further single issues. And next here is the Avenging Spider-Man number 4. Now, I absolutely loved the first story arc. I mean, absolutely loved it. But I heard a lot of negative stuff coming into this next story arc. A lot of people were not happy about the team that was going to be on this book. But while I was reading it, I wasn't expecting much, and I definitely wasn't expecting to be as good as that first story arc. I mean, how could it be? I was pretty disappointed when I learned that the team doing that first story arc wasn't going to be here for the next one. I can only hope they'll be coming back maybe every other story arc. So they were just a perfect team for this book. But with that said, I still was pleasantly surprised. I thought the artwork was quite enjoyable and sometimes quite beautiful. Now, I don't think it was a level of the first story arc as an art, but it still had its own very kind of ultra-realistic type feel, and it really worked at times. The story itself I thought was pretty cool too. Not as fun as that first story arc was. This is a little more less cheeky, which kind of takes away from it in my opinion. I mean, that first story arc was so fun that I really kind of wanted the book to stay fun like that. Still, even though it's a little more serious tone, it definitely has its merit. Right here in this issue, it's all about Spider-Man and Hawkeye, and the next issue it looks like it's going to be involving Captain America. So they're still doing a good job in really having that kind of team-up feel. But for this being the first of the second story arc, I'm actually enjoying it enough to keep on reading it. And it's still one of my favorite Spider-Man titles. So I definitely recommend Avenging Spider-Man. The other two, not so much. Now, of course, if you're already collecting Amazing Spider-Man, you'll pick up the .1, but you really don't need to. And next up here are my more recent Spider-Mans. And, pardon me there. Alright. So, first up here, we will do, over to the right, The Amazing Spider-Man 680. Now, this was the Spider book that I've been waiting for. Now, it is still just a prequel. I mean, the story isn't really going super strong yet. Again, Slott and Yost together. And this was a really good first issue prelude to the big anniversary story arc. As you can see by the cover, Spider-Man in space. And they definitely don't get too serious on us. They keep it, you know, light and campy. Now, there's not really a lot of action in here. There's some, but it's what really makes this a nice prequel is the humor. It has a nice flavor of humor, what we can expect, what this next story arc is going to be. So, for what it is, I thought it was great. And next over here to the left is Ultimate Comics, the all-new Spider-Man number 7. Of course, this is pretty much the biggest hit in the Ultimate Comics line right now, and the only one that I'm reading on a monthly basis. And it's, you know, going strong. If you want a real fun, campy Spider-Man, this is not it. This is definitely a serious, more character study of a comic. Very, very good writing here. It's been excellent since issue 1. And the artwork really fits well. Bendis is doing some of his best work here with this new character. And for a character that I was really had a big question mark in the beginning, I now am actually looking forward to each issue. Now, I do pick up the individuals, but this would be a very easy comic to just pick up on trade. Obviously, this is their best-selling Ultimate Comics title, so it's going to be coming out on trade, just like Ultimate Spider-Man did before, often and probably not too expensive. So if you haven't been reading it at this point, I definitely say pick up singles because you're supporting the title. But if you're one of those people that just likes to pick up trades often, the all-new Spider-Man Ultimate Comics is a great comic to be picking up in trades. And next up here are a couple X titles, and they are really, really good ones. Obviously, over here, Uncanny X-Men number 22, and Wolverine the X-Men number 6. Now, I'm finally getting my Wolverine the X-Men's on time, so reading them has been a treat. These two books right here are probably the best X titles, period. Really, I mean, they are just really, really strong titles. First up here, we'll talk about Wolverine and the X-Men over here to the right. Number 6 was a pretty fun issue. If you've been reading it, you know what to expect by this title. Very, very fun writing. Lots of campy stuff going on. It really works. The art style's perfect for the writing. It's a team that's on a great new, fresh feel of a book, and it kind of has that feel. If you haven't been reading this, it has that feel of what X-Men used to be. You know, we have a school full of kids with mutant powers that need to be taught how to use their powers and how to be truly individuals that are worth the abilities that they have. And you have a lot of different personalities that are always conflicting. It's great fun, and of course, in my opinion, Wolverine is the headmaster. His works out to be much funnier than Charles ever could have been when it was his school. And I have to say, it's definitely a title that I say is a must-read. Both these titles are, but if you're not reading Wolverine the X-Men, you need to start picking up the singles absolutely now. Pick up back issues any way you can, but definitely start reading now. This particular issue is all about kind of like a filler issue, sort of, but pretty much it's them going to a casino in space type thing, you know, trying to kind of make money for the school in a kind of shifty way, and a lot of really funny things happen. Of course, you have some side stories going on, of course, with Kitty Pryde and stuff as well. But a great, great issue, a must-read for anyone who reads comics. And next over here to the left is Uncanny X-Force number 22. And I just been really enjoying this. Now, at first I wasn't sure about the art style. And I know a lot of people were kind of put off about it. But everyone can agree the writing is absolutely fantastic. And this story arc, the writing is just as good as it's ever been. And for me, the art style is one, again, like I said before, I don't want to see it every time. In fact, only every once in a while. But right now, for this being the first story arc with this particular art style, I'm enjoying it for what it is. And sometimes it really works. Other times, not so much. But still, this is a really good issue. And some of the stuff that happens in here is pretty big, too. It's going to really change how the team is going to be in story arcs to come. But a really good issue, and these are the two of the best must-read X titles, period, from Marvel. And next up here, we have two more titles. And we'll go ahead and start with Captain America and Bucky, number 627. This is continuing where the last one left off, with Bucky being controlled now. And basically, we have these robot Hydra agents, and they are bringing it to Captain America. Brubaker is doing a really good job at this. The story is very interesting. It's definitely has changed its tone. It's much more classic type feel with the writing. It's less of a war story at this point and more of a superhero story. But it's really grounded though. It's a very grounded superhero tale. You feel like, you know, if this could really be happening, basically. Obviously, the art style has been some of my favorite. It's just a real unique feel. I've said that a million times. The coloring is fantastic. Some of my favorites inks in any of the Marvel books. This is definitely if you're reading Captain America, this is definitely a book I would recommend picking up on trade. I think that it probably is experienced best on trade, but I definitely recommend picking this up if you like Captain America. In my opinion, it's the essential Captain America book for Cap fans. And also, there's some pretty interesting stuff happening here. I won't say it, I don't spoiler alerts or anything like that. I'll just say that with 627, some really cool things are about to happen. And over here to the left is the conclusion of Magneto, Not a Hero. This is 4 of 4. Like I said before also, this is a book I wasn't sure about, especially with only 4 issues. But I went for it, and even though I think my favorite part of the series was the beginning of the story, I still felt that the conclusion was one that was satisfactory. I would have liked to have seen a little more at the end here. I mean, there's big action. Magneto versus Magneto here. Some big stuff is definitely happening. You get a lot of action. Really good character study of Magneto. And this is definitely connected to the big Avengers versus X-Men stuff that's going on. Absolutely. There's definitely a connection there. But for what this story was meant to be, I thought I did a good job. I don't think it's a must-read, but for any X fan, definitely for Magneto fans, it's definitely worth a look at. Now, at this point, I would say just pick up the trade when it comes out. But if you like collecting singles, I don't think it'd be too hard to find this complete series. Definitely worth a read. And last up here for my Marvels are a couple of my older books that I picked up earlier, and that is number 2 to the first limited run of Wolverine and the X-Men Alpha and Omega. This is the first kind of like limited series put out with Wolverine and the X-Men title. I wasn't really impressed with the first one. I really felt like it wasn't going to be something you need to read. But after reading number 2, I think it's a little more interesting now. The artwork isn't as ugly as it was in the first, though it's still not a pretty book. But I think at this point, I don't know, I might want to pick up the last 2 just because the last 3 just because I picked up the first 2. Or I might just say, forget it, I'll just try and read it when it comes out on trade. Now, the only reason I would want to read this story is for the story. It's for the writing. And that's because I love the main Wolverine and the X-Men book so much that I want to read pretty much anything that has to do with that at this point. I definitely don't feel that it's up to the standard that we expect from the main title. This is definitely not a must-read. Unless you, like me, are an extreme Wolverine and X-Men fan, then I would say it's probably worth a read. At this point, though, you might just wait till the trade comes out. And over here, last but not least, is Uncanny X-Men number 7. Now, this came out earlier in the month, over last month. And this was another title that I was like, the first couple issues, I was like, I'm making myself read it because it's a relaunch of the flagship title for Team Cyclops. And even though it's not nearly as good a book as Wolverine and the X-Men flagship title for Wolverine team, but it's definitely growing on me. It's getting a little better. I feel this is the only Cyclops team book I want to read. I don't need anything more, don't want anything more, but I can't see myself dropping it just because I do get the information that I want. Also, some of my favorite characters I think are being written really well. I think the artwork has been pretty strong consistently. It's not the best, but at times it can be really nice. Other times it's just, doing its job. Again, it just doesn't have the fun or flavor as Wolverine and the X-Men does. But it definitely, for I think anyone who's really wanting to read a lot of Scott Summers and what his teams are doing, this is definitely a must-read for them. And I think for most people that read X books, they're going to be picking this book up along side by side with Wolverine and the X-Men, though the Wolverine book, of course, being the better one. Still, the story arc right now is an interesting one, and I am enjoying it. I do want to see what happens here in issue number 8. And with that, those are my Marvel books. And I'd like to say that it's been pretty good reading, and it's been nice having a little bit lighter pickups, a little bit cheaper, easier on my wallet, and I can kind of take my time reading them. I will, of course, try to post on a weekly basis like I think I usually do, but I do have little gaps here and there. But with that, really curious if you guys are loving the two main X-Men books, and what you guys are really thinking about where Uncanny X-Men is going at this point. Also, I'm curious, you Spider-Man fans out there, are you really excited about this story arc with Doc Ock? And with that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.